Hi everybody, you're gonna absolutely love this video as I give you 10 incredible theories that you can use in your micro essays, your micro exams, your paper one, whereby you can show off incredible talent to the examiner. And if relevant, and if you're able to write about these in detail, watch your marks go up significantly as you stand out from the crowd. You're gonna come across so special to the examiner if you can pull this off well in your micro essays, your micro exams. So your job is to take this all in, yes, understand it all, but make sure in your revision notes you write down what topic area did these theories link to? Can I use this theory in analysis? Can I use it in evaluation? Does it come with an amazing diagram that I can draw so that you confidently know when you can bring these in, you know how to develop them in detail, and then see that mark go up, see that star quality be etched in the mind of the examiner. So let's dive in. Here we go, these 10 awesome theories. Starting off with being confident with shifting your cost and revenue curves on a market structures related diagram. You might be forced to do this, in which case, you need to be able to do it. But even if you choose to do it voluntarily, have confidence to show that a change in cost for a firm or a change in demand or revenue for a firm can be illustrated on a diagram, and that can take you to changes in price, changes in quantity, changes in profit. It's actually a very technical thing to do, very difficult thing to do on a diagram. It will impress examiners quite a lot. I have released videos on exactly how to do this. Shifting cost curves, shifting revenue curves. Make sure you've checked those videos out, and you'll see by the end, those diagrams look complex, but boy, they are going to be super impressive for an examiner to see if you can pull this off. So forced, yes, but also voluntarily, be comfortable doing this. Now we move into market failure related cool theories. First of all, asymmetric information. We know this, right? When information is not shared equally between two parties, and we know that can result in a market failure as consumers make irrational decisions to overconsume things or underconsume things. But pushing this theory into a lot more detail takes you to two very unique market failures. First of all, moral hazard, and then adverse selection. Awesome stuff right here. Moral hazard is when excessive risk is taken by somebody, given that a third party will bear the cost of that risk if something goes wrong. And that excessive risk is very much against the social interest, and therein lies your market failure. So you can apply moral hazard as evaluation to policies like nationalisation and state provision likely to occur there. But also on its own, you can apply it to insurance markets, unique market failures that apply to insurance markets given moral hazard. Whereas adverse selection is when asymmetric information between buyers and sellers results in the worst quality goods or services being offered in the market, and that is a suboptimal allocation of resources. So adverse selection you can bring in if you're talking about second-hand car markets, about insurance markets, again a really unique case of market failure linked to asymmetric information existing. So be confident with those, would be incredible right there. Then behavioral economics. For many of you, this is a key part of your course, or it's touched upon in your course, but know to use it well in detail to back up market failure. You can split this up in two ways. Behavioral economics can explain why certain market failures take place, especially when you focus on your limits to rationality. These are alternative views to traditional views on why there might be certain market failures. But also section 2 is nudge policies, behavioral policies that can be used as alternative policies or maybe policies in combination with traditional policies to solve market failure. So don't just learn your behavioral economics in isolation. Learn it as a way to complement market failure, whether to explain market failure or as solutions to various market failures. Would be very impressive to bring that in if you're forced to, fine, but again voluntarily into a market failure related essay. Then the idea of Coasian theorem. This one is amazing. This is a free market approach, a free market solution to environmental related market failures in particular. And this theory simply says that there is a way to internalize a negative externality via the free market if well-defined property rights are issued, allowing for private bargaining between two parties. That sounds very funky, but we take an example of this and you see exactly how it works. So take an example of a power plant that is currently polluting a local river, that is affecting local residents who like to use the river for leisure purposes. So immediately we have two parties and we have a river that's being used for conflicting reasons. The power plant polluting that river is inflicting a negative externality in the form of pollution on local residents. The major issue in the free market is that nobody, no party actually owns that river, owns that resource, and therefore we have a bit of a market failure here, overproduction, resulting in a misallocation of resources. But Coasian theorem says that if well-defined property rights are issued, let's say in this case to the power plant, so the power plant now owns this river, both parties can get together and bargain for a socially optimal solution. So in this case, if the power plant is given the property rights, it would have to be the local residents going to the power plant and offering to pay them, compensate them, to reduce the output level whereby there is less pollution of that river. And as long as that compensation payment is greater than the lost revenue of reduced output, the power plant will accept, thereby reaching a socially optimum solution, a Pareto optimal solution, as both parties benefit from this arrangement, and thereby solving that market failure. Now that's in the case of the power plant having the rights, but the same bargaining can occur if the local residents were given the property rights. It would be the power plant having to come and bargain for a better solution for them in that situation. So here, yeah, we can solve environmental related market failures, in particular common access resource related market failures, tragedy of the commons related market failures, when there is a risk of a depletion of something or a degradation of a resource. Coasian theorem, you can add this level of detail to your analysis of property rights. We know how important property rights are in dealing with this market failure, but bring in detail Coasian theorem to back you up. Insanely incredible right there. As is the notion of a quasi-public good. What is this? A quasi-public good is a public good that sometimes demonstrates the characteristics of a pure public good, i.e. it's non-excludable, non-rival, but at other times demonstrates the characteristics of a private good, where it could be excludable and rival. And given that, a quasi-public good might be able to be provided by a private, profit-motivated firm in the free market. And that's why it's really good, because normally with public good theory, we go straight to state provision as the only way to allocate resources towards public goods, given the failures of the free market, given the free rider problem. But actually with a quasi-public good, you can say, well, maybe state provision is not necessary, or the problems that come with state provision isn't necessarily necessary, given that there might be a private solution. Profit-motivated firms might be able to provide these goods if they demonstrate the characteristics of a private good enough, whereby there is enough of a profit motive to encourage them to supply these. Incredible evaluation to normal public good analysis there. The next two both relate to the labour market. The first one is efficiency wage theory, and this is a concept whereby if wages are pushed above equilibrium in the labour market, you might actually get efficient outcomes that are good for the worker but also good for the firm, for the employer. And the concept is that if wages are pushed quite high, it can benefit workers with high morale, with just higher wages that boost their productivity. It can also mean lower staff turnover, which is great news for workers, but also great news for the firms that are employing these workers. So you can apply this theory to benefits of trade unions and minimum wages, where trade unions can push wages above the equilibrium wage in a market. Minimum wages that are very high can also be placed above equilibrium. So benefits of that could be efficiency wage theory. Benefits to workers of this, but also then to the firms as well. The next one is the lump of labour fallacy. This is a fallacy. This is a misconception that many kind of analysts or economists succumb to when they talk about the size of the labour force increasing, often because of immigration of working age people or because of technology advancement. The fallacy is that a lot of people assume that job opportunities or job vacancies or the number of jobs generally out there in the economy is fixed, when that is not the case, when these two things are changing. So the common concern is that if immigration comes in, it's going to take away jobs from locals, or if technology advances, it can destroy jobs. But what that is ignoring is that actually both of these two changes can create more jobs in the future. The labour market is not static, it can be dynamic, right? So whether it's through entrepreneurial spirit, whether it's through innovation or R&D, or whether it's just through high demand created or high productivity created because of these two changes, more jobs can exist over time, more job opportunities can exist over time, more employment can be created over time, as opposed to the traditional theory, which says that jobs can be lost and destroyed because of these two changes. That is the lump of labour fallacy right there. Fantastic evaluation to the general concerns of these two changes. Then the principal agent problem, you can bring this in whenever you're talking about different business objectives that might be being pursued. And this is the concept that there is a divorce between people who own a business, i.e. your shareholders, and those who run the business, which are your agents, your managers, your CEOs. So the principals are very much the owners of a business, your shareholders. The agents are those who run the business, those who control the business, your managers, your CEOs. So there is a divorce then between your owners and those who control the business, what economists call the divorce between ownership and control, stemming from this principal agent problem. And given this divorce, you have potentially a difference in business objectives that are pursued. So naturally, your shareholders, your principals, your owners, they want profit maximization because it means high dividends to them. But your agents, your controllers, might want to pursue other objectives because they're easier to pursue or because they will benefit themselves through greater personal perks. So a great thing to talk about whenever you're talking about various business objectives or you're trying to evaluate profit maximization. Game theory, the prisoner's dilemma game in particular, be confident using this whenever you're illustrating oligopoly and you're talking about business behavior in particular. That prisoner's dilemma game indicates and illustrates interdependence beautifully, and it takes you to a logical, rational equilibrium where both firms will charge a low price, which can then take you to non-price competition, a competitive oligopoly. But also that payoff matrix, that prisoner's dilemma game tells you that that's not the best equilibrium, that's not the best outcome for both firms combined. A better outcome would be if firms were able to break interdependence, collude together, and to fix prices at a higher level. That's collusive oligopoly. But also that payoff matrix shows you that collusive oligopoly may not last because there is always a temptation to undercut firms on price and to break a collusive pact. So the prisoner's dilemma game, so many conclusions that you can draw from how firms behave in oligopoly. Great evaluation points to collusion in there as well. So be confident with drawing that prisoner's dilemma by solving that game and actually using it to analyze and evaluate oligopoly markets. And the last great theory is contestable market theory. We need to know it in isolation, but know it as a great evaluation point to monopoly and oligopoly markets where you might be saying in theory there is allocative inefficiency in those markets. Evaluation, well, if those markets are contestable, there might be actually gains of allocative efficiency in both markets. But also you can use this as evaluation to the need for regulation by competition authorities. Well, ordinarily you might say that look, regulation is necessary, but to evaluate that you can say if the market is contestable with a high threat of entry, there might be allocative efficiency actually taking place. There might be outcomes in the market that are in line with the public interest, whereby the need for intervention, the need for regulation by competition authorities is simply not necessary at all, or is necessary to a much lesser extent. Incredible evaluation when you're able to bring in the idea of a contestable market. So there you have it, guys, 10 incredible theories that you can use to show off to the examiner your star quality. For all of these theories, remember in your revision notes, write down what topic areas do they link to. Can you use these in analysis or evaluation? Are there diagrams that you can use to illustrate these so that if you want to use them in an essay, you can do so to the highest level. You can write about them in detail and show off that incredible quality you have to the examiner. So thank you so much for watching this video, guys. A really, really great one for paper one. I can't wait to see you in future videos. Thanks for watching.